Welcome to the Affirm Life Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Cynthia Mitchell, and I have an extremely special guest today. I'm going to read this intro because I don't want to miss a thing because she has earned all of these words, okay? So today we have Coach Tenci. She is a holistic healer, performing artist, and above all, a freedom-seeking wife and mom. Tenci and her husband, Maurice, aka Soul Expression, are co-founders of Ufulu Child, a Texas-based home for freedom seekers worldwide. So beyond just being a hip-hop soul performing artist, published author, and a speaker, Tenci is a holistic lifestyle transformation coach, certified Reiki practitioner, and a certified Kemetic yoga teacher. So you see, she's doing it all. You see that, right? So Ufulu Child is on a mission to help people all over the world live healthy lifestyles while unlocking next level self-love. She shares her stories in hopes that they inspire others to realize and act on their inner greatness. And you can visit ufuluchild.com to learn more. And of course, as always, when I post this, there'll be links so that you can get up with her, check her out, learn more about her, check out their wonderful products, which I have tried firsthand. I'm telling you, they're wonderful. So, but from there, I will did you want to say anything to introduce yourself? Welcome, Tenci.
Good day, love. Hey, happy to be here.
Yes. Awesome.
It's always an honor. And I feel like exactly what you're doing with this podcast is so needed. And I'm just nourished down to my soul level, just being here every week that I can be here in the space. And I'm grateful to share whatever I can about holistic health with you and maybe share my story. Hopefully something inspires you or gets any listener that's listening to be like, oh man, I never really flipped it and thought about it like that, how I can remix it and it actually worked for me and that feels nice, type things.
Absolutely. So, it's the feel good stuff because when you're healthy, it makes you feel good in all ways. You know what I mean? Emotionally, spiritually, when your body is healthy too. So I can't wait to dig in. So the first question that I had for you was, so you talk about a lot about rhythms, like your body's rhythm, the natural rhythm. So how do you follow the natural rhythm of your own body for holistic health? And if you want to describe holistic health first, that might help some of our listeners that may not be familiar with the term holistic health.
Yes. So for those that may not know what holistic health is, I feel like one of the ways that I can describe it is, of course, we've heard of mind, body, spirit, mind, body, soul connection, things of that nature. So just from hearing that alone, you can already kind of gauge, okay, holistic, it's the whole experience of maybe life, maybe your physical health, but it's beyond that truly. So holistic health to me, it is encompassing the physical health so that in terms of your body, you're not bound to medications in order to maintain your livelihood. You are in a state of balance within your hormones. So you're not like having these mood swings. So it's emotional as well. And mentally, some clarity might be nice. Maybe not so much brain fog. So holistic health also, to me, bridges out into other aspects of life, right? So when we're thinking about our relationships and are we hiding parts of ourselves when we go into certain spaces or when we're around our friends or family? Are we consciously stuffing those parts down and like putting up a wall, or are we allowing ourselves to truly shine through and be an expression of honesty, of nourishment, of insight for those around us? Yes. So all that together, and then your connection with what you consider the higher power, the divine, the universe, whatever you call it, the creator, the whatever you want to call that thing that's not a thing that you can touch, but the all-encompassing underlying energy of all things that allows us to live and move and have and be all the things that we wish. So Yeah, that's what I consider holistic health. So it's the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and in our relationships.
Okay.
And also that health in terms of we are pursuing and honestly pursuing the vision that we have individually of freedom. So what does freedom look like to you? Are you doing anything to walk in the direction of your passions? So that piece as well is what I really focus on when I say holistic health. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I really like that you included relationship, because I've never heard anyone include that in holistic health. And we are relationship beings, even our own relationship with ourselves. Like it's crucial. And a lot of times we overlook that. We'll focus on just certain practices or doing certain things, but not the relationship we have with others and self. So I really like that you include that. So how do you feel like, how do we get in rhythm with that?
So, I feel like it won't quite do it justice if I just like rattle off, okay, do this and that and this and that. And then instead, I feel like it might be helpful for y'all out there listening to hear a little bit more about my perspective.
Okay.
So when it comes to finding rhythms, this is something to where, okay, so I'm coming from the standpoint of I am a mother, I'm a wife, I am also, I came from a very hardworking, if you're not doing it yourself, then it's not going to get done or it's not going to get done right type mentality. And with that came with, in my story, me doing everything that I can to be the person that is the prime example of success for my family. So I got the job for the big corporate giant that later I was like, oh my gosh, everything that they're doing is evil. How can I stay here? But I did the thing. And I was the one in my family to where when my mother was diagnosed with cancer, it felt like I needed to throw myself into her healing journey as well. So I'm coming from a space of having a very caregiving energy. So with that coming into reality, I just really struggled with finding a balance with managing my own emotions, my responsibilities that I took on, put on your responsibilities, mama's responsibilities, other people's responsibilities, all on my plate. And the burdens of life got so overwhelming that I found myself in my early 20s having like mental breakdowns. And just, it was not pretty. Like moments of just crying, and I don't know why I'm crying, but I can't manage the stress. I was finding myself, I had really big skin conditions. Like I had eczema for 20 years of my life, and I felt like I was allergic to many things, like foods that I would eat would give me an allergic reaction. I felt like I was allergic to the air outside. Every time I walked outside, I'd be sneezing. I'd be like, Lord, wearing a mask before the whole global craziness happened. So it was a rough time of me trying to be everything for everyone else and neglecting or hampering down my own vision of what I could be. So like if you've ever experienced, like when you have put other people ahead of yourself for so long, and then when you come to a point of, okay, I need to get back into the rhythm, you start to question, like, what does that even look like? What can that look like for you? Like, what does that even mean? Getting into rhythm with my life and my body.
Right. Yep. That is true.
So it was a arduous journey of soul searching, because at the same time, I didn't want just the superficial answers. Like people would say, you got to eat better. You got to exercise. You got to wake up earlier. You got to drink your water. And I'd be like, I know. However,
Right.
How when you have to juggle like your job, your passion, your family, your personal self-care and all the things. And some things have already set by the wayside maybe years ago. So
Right.
when met with this question of how do we bring rhythm, that come back into alignment with that rhythm in life, I did everything that I could think of. I was doing I did an 88-day juice, tea, and water fast. I did like prayers for like so long, journaling every day and trying to ask my own spirit questions and trying to get insight and watching video after video of inspirational content, trying to say all these affirmations and trying to like break through this wall that I felt like was just up. That was keeping me from having a true breakthrough in bringing balance into my mind, my spirit, my emotions, and my physical body in terms of health.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I discovered along the way, though, was trying to do all the things doesn't work. It just doesn't. It doesn't work, especially not all at once.
Yeah. Because you can't find any balance that way. You're gonna wear yourself out on every angle, and that's where it's the implosion. Either explosion or implosion starts. One or the two.
Yes, and for me, it was implode for sure. And I don't know if anyone has ever had any sort of autoimmune condition like eczema as an example of it, or anything like that. You probably went the implosion route. I mean, everyone finds themselves at like a feeling like you've met rock bottom, like you at the bottom of the pit at some point in time. Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to live this life big, then you're going to find yourself there at least a few times.
Yep.
So that's where I found myself until one day I came across a challenge. Like I was trying to figure out how to get my daily routine to be simple and to bring just like some good habits into my life that could actually stick. So I joined like this 30 to 28 day health challenge. And in it started introducing, okay, instead of thinking of all of the things, what if you just thought of maybe 4 or 5 things and just focused on, hey, let me just make sure I'm doing these 5 things. And that's it.
Yeah.
So that inspired me so much.
Overwhelming ourselves, trying to do too much. Oh, I'm going to fix all these things at once. And then you end up fixing nothing or causing even more problems. So I think that's a great approach. You have to kind of do it in a more methodical step-by-step method where you're not overwhelming yourself and then you just give up.
Yes. And part of that is because there is a hierarchy when it comes to bringing balance to our bodies. You have to bring balance to your hormones too. Mm-hmm. And at the very top of that hierarchy, like think of it like 4 different levels, right? So at the very top, and we talked about this on our podcast today, is oxytocin. And that's a hormone that, big word, it just means that love, bonding, connection hormone. So every time we feel connected to ourselves or to someone else, then we're building up oxytocin, and that helps regulate, that brings balance to the rest of our hormones in our body. Okay. So who knew love was the most healing power? Oh my gosh, wow, it sounds so cliche. But self-love, what is that? I'm kidding. Yeah. But oxytocin's at the very top, but right up under that is one that tend to get everyone out of whack. It's like it's cortisol, and cortisol is that hormone. It's the stress hormone, right? So it's that one where we feel like whether it's a deadline with work or something happened in your family, like you get the news that someone in your family is all of a sudden sick or something happened or whatever the case is. And then stress comes up to where we want to either fight, we want to fly away, or we want to just freeze. We freeze. Yeah. So that if it's out of whack, because it can also be used just to get away from any sort of harm that we may perceive, right? If we need to run away, then we can run away.
Right.
However, it disrupts everything else. So blood sugar is off, insulin is out of whack. That's the one that helps regulate how much sugar is, or glucose is accumulating in the blood. And if there's too much, then your cells are like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like, there's a mountain of sugar back here, and you gave me a shovel. That's a mountain. Like, that is Kilimanjaro, and I got a shovel and a pail. What do you want me to do? Okay, so this is one of the things that we have to bring back into balance, and one of the most underrated things that we can do to bring these things back into balance, I'm going to dive into more detail as we go along, but is walking. Like, walking brings down cortisol. So it's that left-right movement, forward direction. Studies have shown that it will literally bring down cortisol levels. So this tends to be one thing that brings everything else out of whack. So if you notice that you're feeling irritable, or you feel bloated, or you have brain fog, or you're or experiencing hair loss, or even for women that are experiencing perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, spotting, or things of that nature, or hot flashes, that's when your sex hormones are off. And you can't bring those into balance if cortisol, which it regulates everything below, if it's in balance, is off. So we have to come back to every kind of angle that we can to really bring cortisol down, bring the stress levels down, bring the stress levels down, bring the stress levels down in this stressful world. Yes.
Because
that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I know one of the main goals that you stress is how to stay out of the healthcare machine. So how can we not, stay away from giving our power over to that machine?
Oh man. And this is wild, because just the other day I was, I think it was a couple weeks ago, actually. One of my clients was asking me like, hey, I'm taking these medications and I've been taking them for a while, and can you just kind of look into them to see what all is going down? I offered to just look up some of the things. So one of the things that I do that helps me get some kind of more objective clarity on, first of all, you need to know what you're dealing with, right? If you don't know what you're dealing with, then say if you are already taking medications, then you won't really know how to advocate for yourself. And you will get, like a kite that has no one holding it. It's just going to fly up everywhere and just go off into the distance. And it's how you going to get that back, right? So in order to really have that rooted clarity of how you can truly stand up for yourself and advocate for your health when you are dealing with the medical machine, which I'm just going to, call like the Western model of medicine and healthcare, things like that. So that's the invasive treatments like surgery, that's pharmaceutical drugs, that's medications, as opposed to lifestyle changes, which on the other end, these are more of the holistic ways that you can go about healing, alternative medicine approaches. So instead, we're looking at, okay, if you in this side where you're trying to, okay, you done paid for insurance and now you got to use it, right? And so, right. And then now, okay, only certain things are covered. Okay. So then you have to follow their protocols. Maybe if you follow their protocols, what does that really mean? So one thing that we looked at, and I did like a screen share video, I pulled up and shared my screen on, there's something you can look up on Google. And what I would say is just type in the name of your medication and then package insert in the FDA.gov. So the name of your medication, package insert, FDA.gov. That will bring up a PDF from the FDA's website, okay? to where they had to at least share these details. So of course, maybe skewed. It is a government website, so-called. And with that knowing and that knowledge, at least you'll have some insight as to what they were willing to share, right? So
Gotcha.
some of the things that I look for in that, it's going to tell you what they normally tell the doctors to use this thing for. So how it is normally used in treatment. So that's the part that if your doctor sees you, probably got maybe 15 minutes in the space with your doctor, maybe an hour if you are feeling fancy, and so are they. Okay.
You real good insurance. You get an hour.
Maybe if you got that one good doctor, it's like a real small practice. They take their time. They don't have a whole lot of patience, stuff like that. They're really passionate about what they do. Then cool, you might have an hour. But either way, you still need to advocate for yourself, because if you are rocking with the 8 minutes, the 15 minutes, there's not enough time for anyone to really know you. There's not enough time for them to know the ins and outs of what you have experienced beyond just them glancing quickly through all them pages, 10 pages of family medical history and a listing of the medications that you already have. So when you pull up the package insert, though, it's going to tell you and walk through the things that, are those side effects. The things to watch out for. Something called contraindications is something that basically it's like, hey, if you're experiencing something like this over here, and they give a little list, then you do not need to be taking this medication, period. Probably shouldn't be taking it, okay? Yeah. And the crazy thing, like, I don't know if you've ever noticed this in looking up different medications and side effects, but something that was really wild to me is that I started noticing more and more that the thing that it was being used to, it said that it was being used to treat, let's say, for example, tremors. But then as you scroll down and you get deep into that little insert near the end, it goes through all of the things that are adverse effects, and side effects are truly direct effects. They're not just like how we thought of side effects. Oh, it might not happen. It's probably not really happening. No, it's like it might be a little small. You probably can't see it yet, but give yourself a few months, years of taking this. That will probably be what is happening. These are direct effects. So it will show you most likely, and this is just what I've seen, right, that the thing that it's being prescribed for, as you continue to take it, is also one of the effects so it's trying to reduce tremors. One of the effects is more exaggerated tremors, as an example.
I've seen that constantly with different medications. And it's just like, they even have a commercial for a medication for suicide. And one of the side effects is suicide. I mean, it's like so irrational and illogical. It's like it's very frustrating, because it's like, I mean, I don't even deal with Western medicine. I mean, if I got hit by a car, I'll go to the hospital, because they are still pretty good at it, like acute injuries. But anything else, no, I'm going to go to my natural doctor or someone like you or something like that, because the medications cause as many or more problems than what you originally had the issue with. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
Yes. And oftentimes, which is wild to me, the more extreme, we could say, for lack of better words, the condition got to a point of being, the worse the more potent the medications, the higher the dosage, it tends to be all of these other side effects, to where in some of them I was like, oh my gosh, multiple organ failure? Like, excuse me? Cancer? Excuse me? And so when you look this up,
I'm like, death is literally.
Because when you look it up, you're going to be like me, and you're going to see all these big medical terms, and you're going to be like, okay, maybe I could probably put some of this together, but I don't know what that one is. I don't know what that one is. So I just copy and paste it into Google, and search for medical definition and look at some sort of medical journal or some sort of scientific or medicine-based website that would give me a greater picture of what I'm actually looking at here. So that's probably one of the biggest things that you can do is just get clarity as to what is your starting point. So what is like that moment of reckoning. So if you are taking medications right now, then beyond the symptoms that you are experiencing, you need to know what is going on so that you can kind of see, okay, if I do stay with this and don't work with my doctor to at least back up off these medications, then this is likely where I'll be 10 years from now experiencing these direct effects.
So when you work with clients and they try to get off, because my mom is trying to wean off some blood pressure medication and some other things, but it's like the doctors are usually so unsupportive and they kind of like low key threaten you like, well, if you're not following this, you'll lose your insurance coverage altogether. Or if something happens to you, they won't cover it because they like get you in this trap. You know what I mean? Yes. Do you find a lot of people in that situation where their doctors won't even like help them try to wean off medications?
Yes. Absolutely. And one thing that just needs to be said is I know you've probably been seeing that doctor for a long, long time. However, if they are so unwilling to move, it might be time to seek out another person to be on your care team when it comes to healing. So it might be worth it. Like mention to them, test it out, right? So there are studies that you can bring them. You can do your own research, print out any research studies that you find, bring it to them, give it to them to read themselves at their leisure. Okay. And really it's truly up to us to do our own research so that we can stand up for ourselves. Because if they mention any little thing and they could say like, well, the studies that I have found say that this is not good what you're doing and you're trying to make your lifestyle changes, right? So you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing the right thing. And you can feel easily taken off course by something that they could say. But little do they know that study was actually funded by that same company. It was just a little subset. Who knew? So of course those results are skewed, but we're not going to even get into that. So bringing them the research that you do find is super helpful. Beyond that, if you just start with some easy lifestyle changes, right? Talk to them about changing the way that you're eating. Maybe let's look at some other ways of doing things. Can we focus on nutrition? Can you share with me all of the options that I have when it comes to these different interventions that I can do with movement or with focusing on whole foods? Like doctors know about a little bit about nutrition. They took like one class in
it's crazy that they really get hardly any education on nutrition, and that should be like the number one thing you would think you're learning about as a doctor, nutrition, but they get almost little to none of education on nutrition. It's baffling. Well, it's not baffling because it's by design, but I don't think a lot of people even know that their doctor does not get educated about nutrition very much at all. They're going to school for that long. That little education nutrition is it's terrible. So do you recommend kind of like coming to your doctor already with like a aw, look at the beautiful one, already with like kind of like a plan of action? Like, okay, I think I should do this. What do you think? Or how should you approach the doctor to kind of get the best result out of it?
Honestly, I do feel like having a plan of action is one of the wisest things that you can do. Really thinking through for yourself, because you know your circumstance better than anyone else. Thanks, babe.
Right.
We have our, as my husband says, our celebrity guest.
So beautiful.
Thank you. But I would definitely come in there with some sort of game plan. right?
Yeah.
Showing them that you've thought through this and that you're confident in your decision, and really you just need a partner in your care.
Yeah.
Because it is going to be a challenge for them, because they have to check certain boxes and follow certain procedures in order to get their payout from insurance, in order to yada, 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 yada. So
Right.
one thing that my mom does, because she often interacts with the Western model, because that's her thing, is when she does go in, she comes with the printed out research. She comes with the game plan written out so she can reference her notes, so that you don't have to hold everything in your mind and try to remember all the things. And then you're already nervous. You're already like, they checked your blood pressure. You try to keep it cool so it wasn't too high, and all of this stuff going on. So it's really helpful to come in with something written down that you'd already had prepared, or maybe go in there with someone that can help you advocate for yourself as well.
That's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And
That's good too.
ask them if they've read the full printout of your medications and what they thought about this adverse effect, and how that interacts with this other thing that you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some here doesn't add up. I don't know. Yeah.
So I like all of those tips. I think that's a great way to approach it if you still are on the Western medicine model, or you're trying to maybe wean yourself off, because it can be a process going from, being in Western medicine to going totally holistic. It can be a process, a transition, So I think those are really helpful. And I know you had mentioned too about to help with your overall health, like detoxifying your home. But not, we get attached to little things in our home. Like, people get attached to their air fresheners and da-da-da-da. So, with our health, we have to be really careful, especially with a lot of things that have fragrance. They don't tell you what's in there. So, how can we do that? How can we detoxify our homes, but still make it be comfy and enjoyable and smell good and all the stuff that we like?
Yes. And, scented candles are also the vibe. But when it comes to scented candles, like what you mentioned, the fragrances, the added things that they put into that candle and it's burning and now it's all everywhere, those do contribute to disrupting our hormonal balance, right? Yeah. So then we're wondering why we feel crazy. Right. But one of the things that I like, and the whole point of coming back to those simple things that you can do, is having them root in what I like to call your thrive zone. And the thrive zone is where three worlds meet. So this is everything that you love meets up with what you truly need in order to support your vision of freedom, of health, of sustaining, like that real fulfillment, like that soul deep fulfillment that lasts. And then the third thing is what you're called to. So love, need, and what you're ready for or called to by your spirit, right? So when it comes to figuring out this whole thing of, okay, let's detoxify my home, one of the things I like to start with is, okay, well, what would you like? What do you love to experience? And let's start with that. So you mentioned like these, for example, like a Glade plugin, these fragrances that you can kind of pop in, or even maybe scented candles. You want a nice smelling home. Okay, love, I feel you. Same. So in order to do that, one of the things that I like to do is to get a essential oil diffuser. And I have that near so I have this dehumidifier that kind of like purifies the air and it dehumidifies the air or whatever. And I also have an essential oil diffuser to really just spreads this yummy smell of these super relaxing essential oils that are my favorite of all time. So the whole space smells welcoming, and it still has those same scents that you would get in the store, Like, say if you love lavender or if you love sandalwood or whatever your jam is. I don't know what your jam is. Your jam is your jam, but you love that. But really, like, just get those essential oils and pop into a little diffuser. It's like maybe $20 on Amazon, and just turn that on for an hour. And that's the simplest way that I can kind of think of having the effect while also nourishing yourself in a deeper way. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you think about as far as like cleaning products and stuff like that?
Yes. Whew. This is almost controversial. Because I know as soon as I mention, I don't know, because there's bleach, there's all of these different products that we're used to and that maybe you have used for years, and you're like, oh my gosh, if I want this level of clean, like there's this phrase. I don't know if you recognize the brand from the phrase, but this commercial's like, if it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be,
is it Tide?
It is. It is. So, like, exactly. See, everyone knows. Anyway, so these things have been a staple in our homes and in our lives for like likely decades. And so when we're talking about shifting gears, it's low key, it can be less expensive to shift gears, but it's also like wrapping your mind around the change, right? So again, if it comes to a point of, man, I feel like I'm giving up everything. What am I got to give that up too? Golly. So then that becomes a burden. So instead of looking at it in terms of, okay, these things I have to get rid of, instead of looking at it like, what are the things that I absolutely love? And how can I really make sure that that is present in my life in a way that still nourishes me? So that's the standpoint that I love to look at it from. So for me, since I know that I need something that is not going to low-key trigger an immune response from me, I don't want to be getting sick or having all of these other things go on for me.
Right.
And when I was young, my brother used to get seizures just from spraying bug spray, like pesticides.
It can
have a whole seizure. And I was like, okay, maybe something with that is not right, So that's something that woke me up. It's like, I feel like that's not how it should happen, That woke me up.
Just to laundry detergent, like, all through my childhood. Like, I would be just itching and scratching all day long. Finally, they started buying me like, I think it was like Giraffe or something. And it got a little better, but like, you really have to, like, for a lot of this stuff, especially if you're a more sensitive person, to have to try to find alternatives to so many things. Because when you start, again, reading those labels to those cleaning products, it can get a little scary.
Yeah. It is truly a rabbit hole that you can dive down. But one of the simplest things that I like to consider is, okay, what will get the job done when it comes to getting the things clean? So when I think through the different areas of my home, let's say with the kitchen, okay, how am I going to what am I going to wash my hands with when I'm not washing the dishes, or when I am washing the dishes, what am I going to use? Or if I'm doing laundry, or in my bathroom, like, what is my body wash? What is my deodorant? Like, what am I putting on my body as lotion? These are things that we can start to think through. And how am I cleaning my floors? How am I mopping my floors? If it's like tile or if it's hardwood floor, how am I caring for my floors and things and surfaces?
Right.
All these different things to replace. When it comes to the different products, of course, there are a ton of alternatives that are out there now. When it comes to the the clean product. And there's some that even don't have fragrances and things of that nature, or sulfates or phthalates and all the other things.
Yeah.
But you can look up there's kind of like with fruits and veggies, there's a dirty dozen. There's a similar list of ingredients in our household products and personal hygiene products that are chemicals that we know are hormone disruptors. And you can just quick little Google search to see what those things are. Turn your product onto the back, check it out. If it has some of these things in them, then it's time to kind of shift gears, because these hormone disruptors, they don't just disrupt your sex hormones like testosterone, which gives us the drive and the motivation and the libido and all of that, but also it knocks off the estrogen, which makes us feel like we can share and express and helps us not be bloated, and helps us not have brain fog, and helps us have really clear minds along the way. Or progesterone, bringing balance to that so that you don't feel irritable, or you don't feel like you got to pop off with someone real quick. You feel like you can be your calm, centered self. Yeah. So as far as if you really want to save money, which low key, that's part of the game too, is some of these things you can make yourself.
Yeah, I make pretty much all my cleaning products. I make my own shampoo. I make my own body wash. And it's, once you start doing it, it's really not that hard. And I found, and you can tell me your opinion on some of the things I use, and for like my staples for making my own little cleaning solutions and stuff. But I use a lot of lemon juice, Castile soap, borax, apple cider vinegar, tea tree oil, lemon oil, essential oil, stuff like that. I use a lot of my. I
feel like these are good. These are good.
It's clean. It's sanitized. People think, you got to have bleach or something like that. You're adding so many chemicals to your home. Instead of cleaning it, you're like chemicalizing it. I don't know if that's a word, but
Yeah. So, and we were taught that bleach kills mold, but it really just makes it more toxic.
Yep.
Who knew? Man,
my bleach user always with the bleach. So
Same. And that's how we grew up. And that's probably why I was itching too. All of the things. So I think that's a great thing to mention. I'm glad that you mentioned some of the ingredients that you use. One thing that I started noticing with some of the Castile soaps I used to get is they have citric acid in it, which is one of the chemicals that leads to like nausea and all this stuff. But there is a brand that does not have citric acid.
Let me write it down. What's the brand? Because I love my Castile soap.
So let me see. I'm going to see if I can pull it up, because it's the only one I get these days. Because
I'm glad, because I didn't check for that.
But this is by, so it's Vermont Castile soap. Vermont soap is the brand.
Vermont
soap. They don't have any inflammatory oils in them. It's all, there's no additives or chemicals.
Oh, sweetness. Well, that's good to know, because that's what I use for like all of our hand soap. For my base, for my shampoos and my body washes, that's normally my base. So I will definitely check that out and get some of that. So, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about you had mentioned that you have 5 key habits that every freedom seeker needs to have on their journey. So tell us more.
Yes, as we allow for Omi to frolic yet again. So, mama life. It's great.
Yes. I'm a girl now, but yes, I remember very well.
Yes. So the key habits, like how we talked about before, simplicity is key. And honestly, convenience is key. So if it's something that it's not readily accessible, then most likely it's not going stay along long enough to become a habit. So that's one of the things to really look at before we even get into the habits themselves. Really, I just want to set your mind and hearts at ease. You don't need to do it all at once. No, you don't. You can just hone in on one. Boom shakalaka. That's the focus for this week. Next week, let's hone in on another one. Boom shakalaka. Boom shakalaka. And so far, so forth, so forth, so forth. So these are 5 habits that I have looked into, and I studied in the journey of my mother healing from type 2 diabetes and cancer. Over the course of 3 months, she healed from type 2 diabetes, and 12 months, she became cancer-free back in 2017, and still is to both, free of both.
Wonderful.
So thank you. One of the things is that it is really these few things. It's really these few things to where we can apply as principles in our daily life, to where we can begin to find that balance, right? So along the journey of figuring out, okay, what works across the board when we were researching for ways to help support her healing journey, because really your body is healing itself, okay? That's really what's happening. There were some things that I found across the board that were just present. So whether it was the herbalist over here, or it was Dr. Sebi or Queen Ufulu, or it was over here, this medical doctor, this naturopathic doctor who balances the hormones and all the things and focuses on lifestyle. No matter who it was across the board, I just noticed the same few things present in everyone's approach. So looking through tens of different healers' approaches, reading through books and really getting a deeper understanding of, okay, after I read this research study and that research study, and then that effect of that herb, and then when that happened, this thing happened. Okay, but there's some consensus. The consensus is these 5 things is what I have found. Okay. So in order to just keep it simple, doing what works, what has been tried and true for thousands of years, because I also studied Kemetic yoga, which is ancient African yoga. And some of these principles also were present in some of the teachings that I learned from the space, which, depending on who you ask, it spans over 6,000, tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, maybe. So, exactly. So these are things that are simple. You're going to hear it and you're going to be like, okay, well, of course. Yeah, that makes absolute sense. And I'm like, of course it does, because the truth is simple. And
always
also,
so simple.
There's nothing new under the sun, as we've heard many times, many people have said. Yeah. So the 5 habits that I would recommend are what I nickname the Freedom 5. And it is, and I'll just give the little mini name for it, and then we'll dive into some of the concept, right? So it's be, cleanse, fuel, move, shine. Be, so be is embodying the change within first. So having a clear picture, everyone that healed had a clear picture of what it looked like, felt, and really meant to be healed. What that experience could look like in their lives. They had a clear picture in their mind and they wrote it down. So that's one piece. So B is all about having that inner clarity with your own self as to where you're going. So what is your vision of freedom? B is also involving the mental landscape, so your mindset. So everyone that was healing had a fire within them to where maybe they were knocked down several times, so to speak, but they were not going to take defeat for an answer. there needs to be a level of fighter in you. Even if it's like, I'm a fighter, but I'm chill though. Still gotta be a fighter in you a little bit. To be able to do things that even if other people would look down on you or whatnot, you're willing to make a change because you know you've had that clarity of what it looks like to be free and you can't turn back. You have to at least give it a go. So that freedom seeker fire. Another piece of this is finding that balance in your spirit and the emotions. So it could look like meditation. It could look like journaling. It could look like whatever. Really, it's what is in your thrive zone, coming back to where you thrive, right? So your love, what brings you joy? What would you, if you imagine yourself doing it, and it's like a, yes.
Yeah.
It's like a yes.
It feels so natural to you.
Right. Like a juicy, ripe fruit that you pluck off that tree. Maybe you don't like fruits. That's cool. But if say you like fruits though, and you're like, yo, that one. Right.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes we live in such a culture where everyone just wants to imitate other people, their exact journey, the exact thing they did, and not honor their uniqueness.
And that's where we fail every time.
Every time.
Like, there's nobody else's picture of what your life should be.
Right.
Ever.
Yep.
And expect to really let this be something that you stick to. Right. So there has to be that sense of freedom. That's why we call it the Freedom Flag, right? So B is the first one. So before we move on, B, right? So it makes sense. Is there any kind of like questions around B, yada, yada, yada?
I think we got it.
Okay. So next up is cleanse.
Y'all speak up if anybody has questions. Do not hesitate to speak up.
Yes, I would love to hear your questions. This is a place where you can just be and you can breathe and, you can, Okay. So second is cleanse. And cleanse is about that, we were just talking about detoxifying your life, right? So cleanse is letting go of the things that no longer are serving you. So literally what that could look like is you need to drink your water so you can literally flush the things out your body that need to pass through. When we're not drinking water, our DNA is literally becoming damaged. And so if your DNA is damaged, how can you pass on health to the next cell in your body, to the next moment that it tries to rebuild itself? Instead, we have to stay hydrated, right? So hydration is one big aspect of cleanse. Another big aspect of cleanse is really supporting your internal organs. So like the gut health, supporting, say, if you have a heart condition, you need to support your heart. You need to also support those detox organs like the liver, the kidneys, even your skin, because that's like the third kidneys. Okay. So really focusing on supplements or some sort of herbal teas or some sort of practice like fasting. However, if we truly bring in balance, that's going to have to depend on where you are in your month cycle. And I mean like 26 to 32-ish days if you're a woman, right? Your moon cycle, not just the quote unquote bleed and whatnot, but everything has its own rhythm. We can dive deeper into that. We're keeping it kind of high level right now. It's cool. So that's cleanse, to support your body's natural rhythm when it comes to your unique cycle as well. So that's all, whether it's every 30 days or whatever, however many days, especially speaking to the ladies, that is. Men have a 24-hour hormonal cycle. So every 15 minutes, they get a new spurt of testosterone, a new opportunity to thrive. But we only have certain times in our month where we can really hone in and lean into heavier healing methodologies like a fast. And that would be before ovulation, if you are ovulating, woman, or after your ovulation period has ended. If you are not ovulating, then that you can time day one as the new moon, Okay. Day 1 is the new moon, and you just track in the moon to where day 1 to day 10, you can lean into them fast because your hormones are low. So it's not going to stir up the pot and have the mountain of excess in your body that your body's trying to shovel and deal with. When your hormones are low, you can lean into heavier practices. But when they're high, then your body's already overloaded. You're already stressed out. All this stuff's already happening. It's just going to store everything as fat. It's like, I don't know what to do. Help. Actually, we do know what to do in this situation. We're just going to take everything and we're going to store it as fat.
Yeah.
When you probably needed some other support somewhere. So that's what happens. And so there are 2 power phases, day 1 to day 10, and around day 16 to day 19 in a full cycle where you can lean more deeply into cleanse.
Okay.
Every other day, drink your water, sip your tea. Very good. Okay.
I see that here.
Yes. And I got my water. So we all sit. So that is cleanse. The third one is fuel. So fuel is all about nourishment. So the things that you're eating, what you're taking into your body, having them be nutrient dense, focusing more so on our body's needs. So if stress is high, then we know blood sugar is going to be out of whack. You might not want to try and spike it. So watch out for Thanksgiving because the itis is going to be the biggest trouble. Because when that happens, your blood sugar then went up and then down, and it's like, oh goodness, okay.
I'm notorious for being terrible at holidays, so thank you for the reminder. Thank you, I appreciate it.
But one thing that you can do to help kind of bring balance is incorporate a good fat because it coats the food so that the sugars break down more slowly. So add some avocado on there, some fresh avocado. Yeah. We're not getting into it. Keep it high level. Keep it high level. Okay, so that's fuel. It's your nutrition. Okay. And depending on what you're trying to reverse, you want to focus on nutrient dense, as much fresh live produce that you can incorporate, do that. And as many things that you can incorporate that don't have the additives, the chemical names, and the ingredient level, when you look at it and you're like, what? I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I may have seen that many times, but I low-key don't know what that is. I don't know what?
And I have, well, for produce and stuff, you don't need it. But for if you when you have to buy stuff from the aisle, I'm trying to find this app that I use. You just scan the QR code. It works. So it's called Yuka. So if you're at the store,
I have heard of that. I've heard of it one time.
It's awesome. You just scan the barcode on whatever you're thinking about buying, and it'll tell you, any, possible dangerous chemicals. And it'll just really break it down if it's too much salt, if it's too much sugar. It'll give it a score and everything. So I really like that app, especially if you're not, because a lot of the words, like you said, you're not like, what is this? I can't even pronounce this, let alone know if it's, how harmful it is. So I really like that app.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's pretty cool. So there's an app, y'all. You don't have to be out here in these streets wondering what you're going to do. Coach Tenci mentioned if it has a what name, then don't. What were the bad oils?
Yeah, because it is a lot to remember. I mean, it's a whole other side job just trying to be healthy in the world that surrounds you. It really is.
You gotta be a whole detective in these streets, okay? Right. A whole food detective.
All the tools and tips and tricks that we can get a hold of for real.
Yes. So the flip side, other than nutrition, is the nourishing content. So really filling your cup is the other half of fuel. So whether it's inspirational podcasts, you're taking some time to learn something that you're interested in or getting into your passions. I don't know, you would write a little poetry. I don't know what you want to do. Anyway, so that is fuel. Okay. So we on the same page? You tracking with me? We both track along. Okay. So now we have move and shine. Move, pretty self-explanatory. you move your body. Okay. We have to circulate in order to really detox. You have to keep your detox pathways open. And one way to do that is through sweating. How? So if it's hot outside, take advantage of the heat, my love, and at least do some stretches in that heat. Get some gardening happening if that's your thing. However way that you love to move, that you can move your body, this is the time to do that for at least 15, if not 20 minutes a day. A day. And we are talking about walking.
We can all do that.
If you want to hula hoop and roller skate, you can do that. Okay.
And what do you think? Yes. I'm sorry to cut you off. I haven't bought one of those little mini trampolines because they're saying it's so good to get your lymphatic system going.
Yes.
So I try to jump on that at least a few times a week.
Absolutely. Okay. I literally am looking at my mini trampoline. That was one of the things that I was like, I need one of these. Okay. Because especially postpartum, like the whole pelvic floor health thing, it's phenomenal for that too. Or
is it? Okay, I know that. Okay.
Yeah, it's super helpful. And even for people that struggle with, hey, I can't get down on the floor, I got to get back up, then a trampoline, especially with those like a handrail attachment to it, that can be super helpful if you're on the mend from a surgery, or you just need a little extra support, or you're recovering for something, or you just want to go all out and have the hopping and jumping experience of your life with the trampoline. There are some hardcore workouts too that I have seen. They are wild. So move is all about that circulation. So that deep breathing, get that oxygen flowing, and we incorporate gratitude. So breath work, gratitude, intentional movement of the body. Boom. Okay. And then the last one is shine. So this is with sharing. It's an acronym for sharing, honest, insightful, and nourishing expressions.
Oh,
basically.
I like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Yay. You're shining. You're being honest and upfront. You're telling the truth. You're sharing things that you know are in alignment with natural law, with truth, and you are doing it in a way that it's like no strings attached. I don't expect anything from anyone else. I'm just sharing. So what you would do, how it could look is when it comes to family and friends, it could be a simple text. Say, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for supporting me in my journey, and yada, yada, bing, bang. Or if it's someone that low-key was not, but you still would like to build a relationship with, then instead it could be just anything that you feel in your heart of like a moment of either appreciation or sharing something without an expectation of receiving anything, whether it's congratulations back or a particular result back. Just sharing something that's nourishing is not going to harm them to know this. And it's actually, it has been proven in studies that when we are on a journey, that it's so helpful to share, to overcome feelings of shame and feeling like really vulnerable. The more that we share, the more that we can truly shine. Sounds like a cliche. it's true.
No, it is very true. It can be hard, especially things that, you may have held inside for a really long time for whatever reason. But it is that release it lightens your burden. It lightens your life. You know what I mean? You feel lighter. You feel open.
And
you feel
it's healing to the organs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So no, I love it. I love those 5, the Freedom 5. So I love it. Does anyone have any questions? I mean, you have a wealth of knowledge here. Does anyone have any questions for Coach Tenci?
Don't be shy.
No? Yeah, sure. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Derek, how are you?
Excelente, Cynthia. How's it going? Yeah.
Good.
And Tenci, am I getting your name right?
Yes. Good day, love. How are you?
Excellent. Yeah, and it's been excellent just listening to both of you guys, gals, rather. Sorry.
That's
Excuse my
okay.
French, right? But yeah, I love the vibe. I love all the applied knowledge, which is wisdom that you're sharing with us, which is great. And I am quite aligned. I got my diffusers and I like those essential oils and all that. And speaking of oils, because, I'm sure you guys have seen, some revelations, and I think there's some exaggerations to a lot of memes being spread around social media regarding seed oils. And I was wondering, what do you cook with? Because I've always been like olive oil. I've been vegan for like 6 years, thriving off of that. And yeah, I do fasting. I do a lot of some of these, fabulous Freedom 5 protocols that y'all got going on. And I love that shit. Yeah. So is there anything you'd like to share about that? And anything about what you got going on in your kitchen, I guess?
Of course, yes. I'm glad that you brought that up because I'm like, oh, well, if we had hours and hours and days and weeks, we could talk about all of
Oh, you're going to be back. Don't worry. We can put that in part 2.
Okay. But yeah, so what do I cook with? So we hear vaguely, and we hear seed oils are bad. Don't do it. Okay, cool. Now, when it comes to seed oils, there are some seeds that are actually fine. Of course, with oils, with anything, if we keep it in its raw state, especially with oils, if it is olive oil or coconut oil, it preserves the nutrients. And one thing about olive oil and coconut oil, they have a certain point of heat to where they turn a little toxic. So the coconut oil will turn rancid, and so will the olive oil beyond a certain point. So if you're trying to like pan fry something, then I would go for avocado oil. Instead. That is the jam, and it has like this subtle buttery taste. So if you're trying to like be fancy in the kitchen, it's not, don't taste like butter. However, right on. So I use avocado oil as my go-to, but if I can't find it somewhere I'm traveling or something like that, and all that I can find in the grocery store is something else, then if I'm trying to cook, then I'll either use sesame seed oil or I'll use grapeseed oil. Those are the two oils. If it's sunflower oil, safflower oil, those are inflammatory. Literally, your cells feel like an inferno, a fire inside. That means inflammation. Inflammation just means infernal and within. So you definitely want to avoid those. And vegetable oil, avoid that at all costs. Corn oil, soybean oil, avoid that at all costs. Those are all in the same boat. And even those margarines, partially hydrated, those vegan butters. Ooh, look at the ingredients. Maybe make your own. Yeah. So those things to keep in mind. But
question on the grapeseed oil, because is that an oil though that should you only use it at room temperature, or can you heat grapeseed oil?
Grapeseed oil, and let me know if you've heard anything different in terms of like heating grapeseed oil. Generally speaking, in terms of heating it, it has a higher smoke point. So I felt like it was safer to use. Okay. However, grapeseed oil, I don't use as often. It's kind of like if I can't find anything else, gotcha, then I'll use grapeseed oil. Gotcha. But it's not specifically inflammatory to your body. So when you think inflammation, eventually your body feels in pain. So any space in the body where you feel pain, then that's also inflammation and like an indication. Warning sign. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Anyone?
Oh yeah.
Hey, this is her hubby for anyone that didn't at the beginning.
Hey, you babe.
What up? So I'm really glad that toward the beginning of this, you brought up the FDA and some of that stuff. And I just wanted to add a little bit to that. the dynamic that's kind of going on behind the scenes. So for those of you who don't know, and this information was first I heard it on the PBD podcast, and then I confirmed it. It's a Google search away. You can check it out. But 75%. Okay, that's 2/3, I believe, or something like that. 3/4. 3/4. Math. Sorry. 75% of the drug division of the Food and Drug Administration here in the U.S. Okay, is allegedly funded by big pharma. Okay, biopharmaceutical companies. The biggest pharmaceutical drug pushers in America fund the drug division of the Food and Drug Administration, of half of the FDA.
Talk about
it's a pay to play type thing, right? Because as long as you have hundreds of thousands of dollars for a new application, then you're kind of set. You can just
the new drug application, NDA, new drug application, is $3.5 million per application. Okay?
Wow.
So you have to have millions. So okay. So
that's why the herbs are not FDA approved.
Exactly, because the companies that have the most incentive to create repeat customers via making the public sick are funding the regulatory agency that says you can't make people sick with these ingredients.
That's real.
So I just wanted to add that to the conversation. This has been a great conversation. I love your breakdown of the Freedom 5, and it was really great.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. No, that was good. That was a good add-on. Thank you for sharing that. Did anyone else have any questions, comments, anything?
Yes.
No.
And don't be shy. Don't be shy, y'all.
Well,
yeah, sure. But thank you so much for the response. And like the biggest seed, avocado seed, right? And bon appetit. I love the, what you mentioned and all that. And yeah, I stay with a good friend, Mario West, and she cooks with the grapeseed oil. It has that higher smoke point and this and that. I really try to be mindful of that when I cook with olive oil because, I got a huge Italian background and all that. And last name, but
low simmer. You're fine at a low little simmer, But if you're trying to fry some things, maybe switch on over for that.
Yeah, totally. And soul expression. That was a great what you mentioned, and some of those stuff like goes over the head of like all that super factual stuff, man. You really did your homework. I appreciate that. Sounds like y'all got a sound household. I love it.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, so, look, the baby's gonna be the smartest.
Yes,
absolutely.
Genius. So, no, their family is absolutely beautiful. They stole my heart as soon as I met them. I was like, oh my gosh, let me into the family, please.
Yeah, right.
So this has been a pleasure. We definitely have to do a follow-up so that you can maybe pick one of these topics and really dive in, and we can get in there and, do this again. So I thank you so much for joining me on the Affirm Life Daily Podcast. Coach Tenci, this was amazing. This was great information that we all need to live a healthier, holistic lifestyle. Is there anything that you want to say?
I want to say thank you. And this is stuff that we talk about like every day of the week on our podcast too. So if you're interested in diving deep, I would love to break down whatever topics y'all are interested in because I just geek out on holistic health.
Where can they find that on YouTube?
On YouTube, it is on our channel. It's the Ufulu Child channel. It's spelled U as in unicorn, F as in frog, U as in unicorn, L as in light, U as in unicorn, and then child. The podcast name is Holistic Freedom Secrets Podcast, and that's on YouTube. We also go live on Instagram and Facebook. So Yeah. And if you go to our website, ufuluchild.com, you'll also see a link to it on there.
Okay. And like I said, I'll be posting links to the posted video, so you can visit the AffirmLifeDaily.com site. I should have this up within a week or so, and I'll have links to everything as well there. And this has been phenomenal. Appreciate you so much. And thank you all for joining us tonight. It was a very nice conversation. So I think people are really going to be able to benefit from this information. Thank you so much, Coach Tenci. And you all have a wonderful night. And please continue to support Affirm Life Daily. Follow on social media and visit the website and subscribe to the newsletter. All right. Peace, y'all.
Take care, loves. Have a good night.
Good night.